my friends and followers, Lissa here for another video. Today's video is going to be a Q&A style video of the top questions that I'm always asked as a raw vegan. Now, I know this may not be all of the questions that new people might have when they first discover a raw vegan diet. You're gonna have a lot of questions, but I wanted to compile a list of some of the top questions that I'm asked, and if you have any extra questions above and beyond this, please post them in the comments below and I can make another video like this, including those ones as well. So let's start with the number one question that I'm always asked almost every day would be, where do I get my protein as a raw vegan? Now, protein is overrated in my opinion. The RDA is already set on the optimal end, so we don't actually need any more than what the RDA states. For women, for me, it's 46 grams, and I easily surpass that every day because I eat 2,400 to 2,700 calories of fruits and vegetables. I eat a lot of greens, so that provides me with a lot of protein. There are amino acids, which are the building blocks for protein, in all fruits and vegetables. So you don't need to worry. If you're eating enough calories and you're getting a lot of variety in, you're probably hitting your protein goals. You can include a small amount of nuts and seeds like I do. I do eat sprouts a couple times a week. I'll add those to my salads. But I really don't worry about protein. If you have questions about protein, I highly recommend a book by Dr. Garth Davis called Proteinaholic. The link is in the description below. You can get that off Amazon. It is an excellent book describing all of the obsessions we have over protein and how we actually don't need as much as we think we do. I believe that we should be more focused on fiber. Fiber is way more important than protein, and again, if you're eating enough calories, you're gonna get enough fiber and you're gonna get enough protein, but you have to eat enough and get a good variety, lots of greens and that kind of thing. So I get my protein from fruits and vegetables. That's my source. Question number 2, do you use salt? Yes, I use salt, but I use a very, very, very small amount, and I use Himalayan pink salt or the sacred salts, which is a blend of 4 different kinds. There's black salt from Hawaii, there's gray salt, rose salt, crystal salt, all different kinds of salts from all over the world that they've combined into a package. This salt has high mineral content, and when I do use salt, I only use 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't even really notice, but I do find that because I have low blood pressure, if I don't have salt for maybe a week or 2, I find that I get a little bit lightheaded, but that is because my blood pressure gets too low. We do need salt to regulate our blood pressure and fluid balance in our bodies. So again, we do need a little bit of salt, but we don't need a lot. And just adding a small amount, if you feel you need to, is totally fine. But if you don't want to use salt, I would highly recommend doing something like celery juice because it has a natural organic sodium in it that can help with the fluid balance. Because as a raw vegan, we eat a lot of potassium, we do need to balance out that potassium sodium. So again, yes, I do use salt, just a very, very small amount and only a couple times a week. Question number 3, where do you get your fats? I get my fats from nuts, seeds, avocados, coconut meat, and my greens. Greens are quite high in fats. For example, a whole head of romaine lettuce can have up to 70% of your omega-3 in a day. I keep my fats to 10%, but those are the fats that I eat. If I do eat fats in my day, I keep them with my greens because they help to absorb vitamin A and vitamin K, any fat-soluble vitamins that come in greens, and I keep them away from my fruit because we don't really need fats to absorb anything from fruit. Plus, it can cause insulin issues, so I do keep them with my vegetables. But that's what I eat for fats. Question number 4, are oats okay on a raw diet? I personally don't use oats, but I have heard some raw vegans do, so it really is up to you. If you do use oats, I would recommend getting something like the steel cut ones or as close to nature as possible. The rolled oats, I have heard they use high heat in the steaming process to roll them out, so that would be a no technically for raw vegans. I would just avoid them. I don't bother with them. It's up to you if you do, but I don't. Loaded question number 5. Don't fruits have too much sugar in them? This one is hard to explain because fruit is so different from processed sugars. And when you hear the word sugar, you immediately think it's bad. Our bodies run on sugar. If sugar was so bad for us, we wouldn't use it as our main fuel source. We need sugar. We need that for energy to get through our day and to fuel us. So sugar isn't bad. It's processed sugars and refined sugars and junk sugars that are bad. It's also sugars that are combined with fats. So, you know, the fruit in your yogurt, you're eating an animal fat with fruit is not a good combination because fats, especially animal fats, are linked with insulin resistance. So the more fats you consume in your diet, the lower you have to lower your carbs because the fat produces insulin resistance. And again, animal products are worse than this. So your yogurt with fruit, for example, or, you know, if you're having a lot of butter with a fruit tart or a pie, those are just really, really bad combinations. And that is what's causing all of the problems with diabetes, sugar crashes, and cravings because you're eating way too high fat and not enough whole fruits and vegetables. If you're eating fruit, fruit comes with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, proteins, and fiber. Fiber is one of the most important things when it comes to your sugar consumption. We should be eating foods that have the natural fiber in them, packaged perfectly for us. And the fiber slowly releases the sugar into the bloodstream, which you then use for energy. So fruit is not a bad thing. It's fat and processed sugars that are causing so much of the problems in society today. So when you hear sugar and fruit has sugar in it, we tend to get scared because we've been indoctrinated that sugar's bad. And again, yes, sugar's bad, but sugar in the form of processed foods, refined white products, and combined with fats is not a good option. So I don't believe that fruit sugar is a bad thing. I believe it's our main source of energy and it's good for us. It comes with fiber, vitamins, minerals, all of the good stuff that we need, and we don't need to be eating that other stuff that is causing all the problems. Fruit's getting a bad rap, and fruit is completely innocent in this whole sugar debate. So no, I don't think that fruit sugar is a bad thing. Question number 6, do I eat grains? Nope, I don't eat grains. I will sprout beans, and I will have miso, which I typically like to get the chickpea miso, but if they don't have that in stock, and because it's very, very expensive, I will get barley miso. So it's basically fermented barley. That would probably be the extent of my grain consumption, but in general, no, I don't do any grains of any kind. Question 7, do I eat beans and how do I eat them? Again, I eat sprouts. So I believe that beans have a very important role in healthy diets. If you study all of the long living cultures on the planet, they all have beans in their diets. I just don't want to eat canned beans or cooked beans, so I sprout mine. I sprout them and add them to salads. I add them to my chili recipe, or I blend them into like a raw vegan patty that I dehydrate a little bit and have with a salad. That is how I eat my beans, and I do, as I said earlier in the video, I do them probably 2 or 3 times a week, give or take, depends on when they're ready. But I make enough to last a couple days and then I start them all over again. Question number 8, what about potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes, eggplants, that kind of thing? For me, potatoes are a no-go. Potatoes to me are like a drug. They are, I could easily eat tons of potatoes and that would be all I ate. I am so addicted to them and they trigger me to want more cooked food, so I purposefully do not consume potatoes whatsoever in their cooked form. I don't eat potatoes raw because they're harder to digest. However, sweet potatoes and yams can be eaten raw, and I have consumed those raw on occasion because they don't trigger my cravings like a cooked potato would. Now, a cooked potato, I don't know what it is about them, but they just trigger me to want to eat only potatoes, and then I would stop eating all fruits and vegetables because all I would want is potatoes. And I know for me, it's a mental addiction. So I just avoid those. Now with the spiralized, I will spiralize yams or sweet potatoes and add them to salads, that kind of thing. I find I'm okay with those. However, they don't digest the same, so I don't do them very often. I've probably spiralized maybe all of 3 yams in the last year. So again, I really don't eat them often, and they are not part of my lifestyle. Question number 9, can I still eat cooked food once in a while? This is completely up to you. I don't, because I feel better eating raw, so why not eat how I feel the best? Why would I eat something that doesn't make me feel my best, even if I wanted it? I don't feel that cooked food serves me at all. I feel dehydrated just thinking about it, so I don't want to go there, and I don't want to eat cooked food. Now, for you, you may want to have a little bit of cooked food, and that's up to you, but you have to ask yourself the question, is it triggering me to eat more cooked food? Is it making me eat less fresh raw foods? Are you feeling your best when you're eating it? You have to ask these questions and really listen to your body, and not your cravings and not your wants and desires, but really what your body wants. If you feel better eating raw foods, then you should always choose the raw foods. Why not choose the foods that make you feel the best? I don't eat cooked food because I know it's going to trigger me, and I know the string of events that would happen. I would justify eating, say, steamed broccoli because it's harmless. I don't think that steamed veggies are the end of the world. However, for me, they would justify eating steamed other veggies. And then I would be like, well, I feel okay eating that. Maybe I'll do some roasted veggies tomorrow night. So I have roasted veggies, and then they turn into boiled potatoes, and then they turn into French fries, and then they turn into pasta, and then it turns into Doritos, and then before I know it, my food is rotting in the fridge because I'm basically filling my plate with cooked food and not fresh raw stuff. So I know the string of events that I would follow, so I don't want to go down that route, and I just don't include cooked food into my diet. So no, I don't eat any cooked food. And I don't see myself ever eating cooked food unless in an extreme emergency. However, again, if there's always a raw option, I will always choose raw. I will always go to a grocery store if I need something. And I always take food with me, so I never have the emergency to eat cooked food. So yeah, it's up to you. Question 10, what about coconut nectar and agave and maple syrup? I use coconut nectar in small amounts, only on occasion. I've probably used it maybe 4 or 5 times in the last year. I really don't use it often, but I use it in dips and sauces that require something syrupy. I don't use maple syrup only because it's heated to high temperatures. I have been debating including it in my diet or not. I don't know where I sit with maple syrup yet. I haven't consumed it in almost 3 years, so that's probably the one thing that I would like to include. However, because it's not actually raw, but then again, neither are cashews, and I still eat cashews, so you know, it's one of those ones that I'm on the fence with. So I don't actually use maple syrup, and I don't use agave because I've heard that it is like high fructose corn syrup, so I don't want to include that, especially if I'm putting it in things that have fats, which can again cause insulin resistance. So again, I do use coconut nectar here and there once in a while, but in my new dips and dressings recipe book that's coming out, I have an alternative sticky dip that I'm making. There's going to be a few different variations of it that does not include coconut nectar, agave, or maple syrup, but it's still sticky and awesome. So please stay tuned for that book. It's going to be coming out hopefully in the next couple of months. I just have to get everything organized to do it and get pictures of all the sauces and everything. But yes, I have an alternative to those sauces coming in. Question 11, is cacao okay? I personally don't do cacao very often. Again, it's one of those things that is very rare in my diet. Once or twice a year, I'll add it to nice cream. but I really don't use it a lot. The reason for me is because the caffeine in the cacao triggers heart palpitations. I used to be severely addicted to coffee and energy drinks. I used to drink 1 or 2 energy drinks a day plus coffees. So I was overstimulated, and I would wake up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. feeling like I had a heart attack because I was having, my heart was racing and I was feeling anxious and panicky. So when I do consume cacao, sometimes I will get that shortness of breath, like raw chocolate, that kind of stuff. I will get short of breath. I have to take deep breaths in and I don't feel like I can get a full breath, so I therefore avoid it. Again, it is a raw food, but it's up to you if you want to have it. I rarely have it. Question number 12, isn't raw too expensive? Actually, for me, raw is much less expensive because now I'm not buying animal products, processed foods, junk foods, takeout, snacks, energy drinks and coffee. I'm not buying cereals and grains and pastas and sauces and canned things, and I could go on and on and on and on. I mean, it's 90% of the grocery store that I don't buy anymore, and a lot of that stuff is really expensive. Like I used to buy a brick of cheese and it was like $7 or $8, when now I can buy a container of dates and that lasts me a good amount of time compared to the cheese for just a couple dollars more. Now I spend on average, compared to the diet that I used to eat, because I'm comparing it to how I used to eat, I'm saving approximately $300 Canadian a month because I'm not buying those extra things and snacks and goodies and treats and all of that kind of stuff. Now, for someone else, it might be different. If you're coming from a low-cost, plain vegan diet, higher in starches like potatoes and rice and beans, it may be more expensive because it is more expensive to get those. Plus, it's more expensive if you're eating organic. I don't eat all organic. I would love to, but I can't afford it. I would rather get my calories conventionally than to starve trying to afford organic. I think that the cleaner we get, the more we can handle the pesticides. Now again, I'm not saying that it's okay to eat food that is not organic. It's better to eat organic. However, I don't want to starve trying to get organic foods because A, they are more expensive, and B, I can't get the variety that I can conventionally. So it is cheaper for me to eat raw. I basically live mostly on bananas, cucumbers, tomatoes, and lettuce. And other fruit. I do splurge on some things. I always look for sale stuff. I mean, if pineapples are $7 each, I'm not going to buy them. I'm going to wait until they're $2 each. If watermelons are super expensive, I'm going to wait until they get cheaper. And I'm just going to live on bananas until I can afford to get stuff in season and on sale. Check the ugly counter. Ask your produce guy if he's willing to sell you a box of bananas for $10, because it happens. So there are ways around it. You can get cheaper food, and you can grow your own too. Grow some food out on your balcony. I find that I used to spend a lot of money on things like basil and dill and everything because it was like $3 or $4 for a bunch, and I would just use a small amount. So now growing your own herbs, you totally cut that cost right out. You don't have to spend $4 on a bunch of basil that you're going to use a small amount on. So there's a little tips that you can use to help with if you feel that it might be a little bit too expensive to be raw. Question 13, how do you eat so many bananas? Well, I eat so many bananas because it's probably my #1 calorie source. It's easy, it's cheap, and I don't mind bananas. I don't super love them, but they fill the calorie void while being cheap and inexpensive. I would prefer to eat pineapples and nectarines because those are my favorite fruits. However, they are very expensive here in Canada sometimes. But again, I wait for sales. I get the nectarines in season only for a couple months in the summertime. So that is my favorite time of the year because I love my nectarines. But bananas I do use because they are my main calorie source. You can find other foods if you don't like bananas, but I typically eat them only in the morning and as snacks between breakfast and lunch and dinner if I feel. And I also use them as pre-workout foods. I will have like 3 or 4 before a workout, 3 or 4 after sometimes if I do like a long run, which is rare. But I will use bananas as my main calorie source. So how do I eat them all? I just eat them. I make sure that they're ripe, they have spots on them, and I use them mostly in smoothies or fruit bowls. So you just you just gotta eat them. If you need the calories, then just go for it. They're super fast, super easy to eat, and you can take them anywhere, really. I stick them in my backpack and take them when I go out, just in case I need something to sustain me until I get back home. Question 14, what if I don't want to eat salad all the time? Well, there are a lot of raw vegan recipes out there. You can find my recipe book at the link here in the description below as well, where I have 90 recipes in there, so you can pick any of them that you want and you can make all sorts of really cool raw vegan stuff. You don't always have to eat salad. Now, I eat salad every day for lunch and dinner, basically, unless I make my chili or one of my special different recipes. I save those for nights that I want something a little different, but for the most part, I just eat salads. I don't mind eating salads. If you don't want to eat salads, again, find recipes. Find some raw soups, find some chili recipes, or like there's raw lasagna. Or you could just have smoothies. You could make green smoothies, you can make V8 style smoothies, and just have those. It would be like eating a raw soup. You just gotta find your way around what you love to eat, because that's the whole point of when you're a raw vegan. You want to love your food, and that's why I am having a raw food romance, because I'm in love with the foods that I love. If you don't like zucchini, don't eat it. If you love cucumbers, eat a ton of cucumbers. Just find the foods that you love and the recipes that you love and make those. You don't always have to have salads, but I do, because it's easy. It's super easy. 8 minutes to make a salad and 30 seconds for the dressing. So I find it's a lot easier for me to make the food prep when it comes to a salad. You can get little utensils to help you chop faster and that kind of thing. So again, for me, it's basically speed to eat a salad, but if you want something different, there are countless recipes you can follow. Tanny Raw has a lot of really good ones. I mean, Fully Raw Christina does too. If you do the low-fat ones, there's so many on the internet. Go for it. Chris Kendall has a lot of awesome recipes too. Just go for it. Do some Google searches and find what you love. Question 15, don't you get bored? Nope, I don't get bored eating whole fruits and vegetables. I don't get bored because it's my life now. This is how I eat. This is how I will eat. When I think of food, if I'm hungry, I just default to the raw foods that I can eat or what I want to make for the day. I don't get bored because I'm constantly creating. I'm always making new recipes for you guys, for my dips and dressing book, for my next meal plan. I'm always coming up with new stuff. And if you're not one of those people, go hunt them down. Like I said in the last one, hunt some awesome recipes down and find some good variety, and that will keep you from being too bored. Try out new fruits and vegetables that you've never had before. Add them to dishes. Do some seasonal stuff, because that helps with the boredom. If you can find some, like right now we're moving into plum season and tree fruit season, and I'm so excited because I get to have that extra variety. So I don't get bored. I didn't get bored of Doritos, and I ate those every day. I didn't get bored of potatoes or chips or fries, and I ate those every day almost. I didn't get bored of alcohol. Drank that every day. So really, it's our perception. We still eat the same things. We eat wheat, sugar, fat, and animal products in various different combinations with spices added to make it taste a little different. So we are, as a sad eater, we're already eating the same thing every single day, just different forms of it. So eating a raw diet, I find now I eat way more variety than I ever did as a sad diet eater. Question number 16, how do you live without cheese? This one I'm asked quite often. I live without cheese because for me, I don't see cheese. I see torture. I see cheap hamburger meat. I see the female reproductive system exploited. I see sadness. I see pain. And it's not ours. We aren't cows. We should not be consuming milk. So for me, when I look at cheese, I don't see cheese the way I used to see it. Sure, I loved the taste of it. I mean, who doesn't like cheese? I mean, lots of people do. So, and I loved cheese before, but because my mindset has changed and I know what goes into the creation of cheese, I am totally turned off by it. I don't want to consume it ever again. Yeah, this is a touchy one because for me, it's about the ethics. It's not about the flavor or the taste. I don't want to be part of what goes on with the whole dairy industry, so I don't miss it. I don't miss it because I don't miss being part of that problem. So I do things like cashew cheeses. I make a cashew sour cream for the dairy. Just to add those still into certain meals to make it taste a little bit more authentic. Like the chili is awesome with a little bit of the cashew sour cream on top, but I refuse to go back to the cheeses. And I don't do vegan cheese either because it's processed and I, again, cooked, so I'd rather do the raw version. So yeah, I don't miss cheese, not at all. To me, it looks like melted plastic, so yeah, and definitely don't miss it. Question 17. Isn't this going to cause an eating disorder? Big question, fully loaded question. I personally don't feel that this is causing an eating disorder for me because I eat enough calories. I get a huge amount of variety. I get all of my vitamins, minerals, my protein, all of that stuff. And I feel full, I feel energetic, my sleep is improved, my acne's gone, my weight is down. Basically, my life is totally different from when I was having an eating disorder, eating Doritos every morning for breakfast, or, having the token vegetable with my dinner because I felt guilty for not having very much for the day. In the past, I had so many issues with food. I used it as reward and punishment. I used it to comfort myself. I overindulged in it. I justified eating things I knew I shouldn't. I used the word moderation to justify that. And I abused my body, and that to me is an eating disorder. I don't believe I have an eating disorder right now. I believe I am finally free from food addictions. I am finally free from living in that cycle of I have to get healthy, I have to eat healthy foods. I'm eating healthy foods. How is that an eating disorder? Anybody can have an eating disorder, whether you're eating keto, paleo, SAD diet, raw vegan, plant-based, whatever, you name it. Anybody can have an eating disorder if you have a disordered eating mindset. So if you believe that you need to calorie restrict to lose weight, that's an eating disorder. There's so many different ways to have an eating disorder, and I believe I had one in the past when it came to the reward, punishment, and comfort of those foods that I knew were hurting me. So now I am finally free. I feel I have an amazing relationship with food. I love to eat, and I want to eat a lot of healthy foods and hydrating foods. I don't feel that it can cause an eating disorder unless you have a past of eating disorder mentality, which you should talk to somebody about. I do know that this diet seems to be very restrictive and extreme, but I am on the low end of extreme. There are people who only do fruit or who exclude things like garlic and spices and onions and things like that. And that's fine if they want to go there. But for me, I feel more balanced and whole when I include a larger variety of foods and flavors, and I enjoy my food a lot more. And it keeps me raw and it keeps me healthy. So I prefer this way for me. I found if I do go too extreme, I feel like I'm a failure, and that is eating disorder territory. So I don't feel like a failure right now. I feel amazing in myself, and I choose not to eat cooked food because I don't feel great eating it. So it's not because I'm in an eating disorder mentality and I don't want to have cooked food. It's because I feel better eating raw. So why not eat? So that's my take on it. Again, this is a loaded question. I don't want to go too far into details because it can be a trigger for a lot of people, but I don't feel that for me that I have an eating disorder. And again, you can have an eating disorder eating anything. It doesn't matter if you're a raw vegan or you eat healthy standard North American diet. You can fall into that if you have that mindset. Which leads me to question 18. How can that be healthy? Eating all of those fruits and vegetables. Now, why is it healthy to eat McDonald's in moderation? I don't see anything healthy in that. McDonald's is not healthy food, so don't eat it. I find that if I'm going to be eating food, I want to eat the best, the most hydrating, the most nutritious, the most vitamin-packed foods that I can. I choose not to eat certain foods because I know they are triggers for me for my eating disorders, like we just say in the past. But I don't think that it's bad to be eating a huge amounts of fruits and vegetables, because we all know we should be eating more of them. So why not eat lots? And that, I mean, I know it's healthy and I feel healthy, and I've never been this healthy. I'm 3 years from 40, 2.5 years from being 40, and I feel like I'm 20. I have the best skin that I've ever had in my life. I've always struggled with acne. I mean, I still have a couple little scars here and there. I don't know if you can see them, but they're scars from my past, and I don't want that anymore. I want to be healthy, and I don't want to be eating the foods that I know cause this. So eating fruits and vegetables, I don't think is a bad thing. Definitely not. Question 19, how long until I feel better if I move to a raw vegan diet? I've done a video on this. You can find the link for that in the description below, but this one, it definitely depends on your past, on any illnesses that you have currently, on how well you move into a raw vegan diet, how many calories you have, how much you listen to your body, how hydrated you are, how you detox. Everybody's going to be different, and you have to be patient with yourself. You have to make sure that you're not hungry or starving or crashing, and you have to figure out all of those little intricacies, and it takes time. It took you how many years to get to where you are? And all of those days that got you to where you are, you were eating things that got you to where you are. So it's not going to take a month or 2 or 3. Sometimes it can take a year. I've heard people, it took a year for them to clear up their acne. Some people it only takes a month, but it depends on your body. So be patient with yourself, love yourself, and give yourself the foods that you know are super healthy for you. Don't give in to those foods because you may not be hitting your goals yet, and you default back to the foods that brought you to where you were. You don't want to be including those anymore. Want to focus on the future and keep moving forward, and consistency is what will get you the benefits of the raw diet. So yeah, again, it's going to be different for everybody. You'll probably feel better right away just by knocking out all of the crap in the animal products, but with the healing, definitely depends on your body. So be patient with yourself and love yourself. Question 20, don't you miss bread? No, I don't miss bread. Bread to me looks like couch cushions, and it's gummy and gluey, and I don't like the idea of wheat. Now, a lot of people will do like gluten-free stuff and everything, but again, it's processed foods, it's dehydrating on the body. I mean, yeah, it has moisture in it, but it's not very good for our digestion. I don't want it, I don't care for it, I don't miss it, I don't, like, I actually don't even really think about it. There was at one point someone mentioned to me bagels, and I was like, oh yeah, bagels exist. Like, I've actually forgotten a lot of the foods that do exist because I don't expose myself to them. So yeah, I don't miss bread, not at all. It's fine that it's not part of my life anymore. I really don't miss it at all. And question 21, don't you miss real food? Which would be similar to the last question, but I am eating real food currently. So that question is kind of interesting because people don't realize what is real food and what is not real food. To me, sure, potatoes and rice and that kind of thing is actually food, but I believe that those foods are more survival foods. They're more meant to be eaten when there's nothing else to eat. So when you don't have any greens, you don't have any fruit, you don't have access to it, then you could default to that, because that's what we did in the wild. Now, if a tribe was moving more north, we would eat those things because we didn't have access to fruits and greens in the wintertime. We had to default to using root vegetables and grains because we could store them for long periods of time, and they were calorie dense, so they could get us through a lot more time than eating fresh fruits and vegetables, which digest very quickly. So those foods are more survival foods. I still consider them food. I just don't use them because I always have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, so there's no point in me actually consuming those. So yes, those are real food, but to me they're not really. I mean, they're survival foods. So that's my take on it. But I don't miss real food. When people ask this question, they're referring to things like pizza, steak and potatoes, French fries, wings, you know, the food in the restaurants, that kind of thing. They're asking me more if I miss that kind of stuff, and I don't. I don't miss it at all, because I don't miss the restaurant rock, I don't miss the acne, I don't miss the weight, I don't miss feeling crappy after, I don't miss feeling regretful and guilty and have the self-hatred that I shouldn't have eaten that, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff I don't miss. Sure, the taste is there, but I can mimic tastes and flavors in the raw world. It's just really spices. That's really all. Maybe a little bit of the consistency. But again, I can mimic those in the raw world, so I don't miss the flavors. If you want a Hawaiian pizza, go make Chris Kendall's pizza, because it tastes almost exactly the same for the flavor. So if you want that, go for it. Make those foods. Make my chili if you miss something warm and cozy like that. Or my raw tacos, because if you know, you get the Mexican flavor of the taco, and that is what people miss more so. If they're eating just a plain salad, they're not necessarily getting all the variety of the flavors, and that is more what I would miss if I didn't have that, the variety of the spices. So no, I don't really miss real food, because to me it's not real food. 22, isn't that bad for your teeth? This one, again, is a loaded question, because 91% of adults over the age of, I don't know, 25, I can't remember the stats, but it was 91% of adults have teeth issues. Now, if only 3% of us are vegan and less are raw vegan, I don't think that we should be the ones concerned about teeth issues. Everybody else is consuming all this other stuff, and they should be worried about their teeth and the processed sugars and the crap that they're eating that are causing all these issues. I have bad teeth because I ate bad foods. I lived on, again, energy drinks, coffee, sugar, junk food, and I didn't have good oral hygiene. So I've got, you know, one of my teeth back here has a hole in it, and these teeth are a little bit sensitive, but they've gotten better since I've been raw. They haven't gotten worse. A couple things that you might want to take into account is rinsing your mouth after you eat things like pineapple or fruits, waiting about 45 minutes before you brush your teeth, because if you eat food, it can soften the enamel, and then brushing really hard can wear that away. So you want to wait a little bit before you brush your teeth. Using good oral hygiene, like again, brushing, using remineralizing toothpastes, making sure you get a lot of really good minerals in your diet, eating a lot of greens, eating more alkaline forming foods that don't erode. You can do oil pulling, using oil in your mouth to get bacteria out, that kind of thing. There are a lot of things that you can do. And vitamin K2 is very, 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 very important in bone and teeth formation. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin K in your diet. Now, vitamin K and K2 are different. K converts into K2, but you need a little bacteria in your colon to convert K1 into K2. Now, most of us probably don't have that bacteria anymore because we've done a round of antibiotics and wiped it all out. So if you are concerned with that, it's not the end of the world to take a vitamin K2 supplement if you're worried about your teeth, bones, that kind of thing. K2 is super, super important. But again, it comes from greens. So we got to eat our greens. I'm sure there are some fruits that have vitamin K in it, but vitamin K mainly comes from our greens, and that's how animals produce vitamin K, is they eat a lot of grass, and their bacteria converts it into K2, which you in turn ingest if you eat animal products. But they make it from grass, and we should be making it from our vegetables too, our greens. So definitely make sure that you have a lot of greens, a lot of minerals in your diet so that you can have healthy teeth. Question 23, what about omega-3? For my omega-3, I use romaine lettuce, berries, and chia seeds. Those are the 3 top foods that have omega-3. I eat 1 to 2 heads of romaine lettuce a day, so I get more than enough omega-3 just from my lettuce. But I also do berries once in a while, and I do chia seeds in my dressings to boost my omega-3 content. I don't do fish oil. The reason is because it's a byproduct of the fishing industry, plus it's not vegan. So I don't do fish oil. I rely on chia seeds and, again, romaine and berries for my omega-3. Question 24, don't you need calcium from dairy? The top 5 milk drinking countries in the world have the top 5 rates of osteoporosis. So it is not milk that is helping with their calcium needs. Now, meat eaters do need more calcium than vegans because they actually leach a lot of calcium from their bones because of the amount of acidity from the proteins and the animal products that they're eating. So they tend to have a lot more need for calcium. Vegans need less. I think Michael Greger said it was between 600 and 800 milligrams of calcium a day, whereas the RDA is about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day. So again, we do need a little bit less, but you can get a lot of calcium from your greens and your fruits and veggies. You just have to make sure that if you're concerned about calcium, to find the foods that are higher in calcium. Oranges, bok choy. Bok choy is so high in calcium. Sesame seeds are pretty good. Just go on a Google search and check out what the best produce foods are that are higher in calcium and include those. Sea vegetables are another one that are really good. You want to get hand harvested ones so they don't damage the sea life, but sea vegetables are going to be really high in calcium too. Wakame is one of them that has a higher calcium content. Question number 25 is more of a statement, but they don't want to use the bathroom as much. Now, unfortunately, using the bathroom is actually really good for us. We need to be having like 2 to 3 really good bowel movements a day, and you gotta urinate. Unfortunately, that's how our bodies need to expel toxins. And if you aren't using the bathroom very often, then you are just holding on to a lot of those toxins and junk in your system, which can lead to health issues. So sure, I don't like using the washroom very often, but it's part of life and I've gotten used to it. The more watermelon I eat, the more I go to the bathroom. So it's not that big of a deal. I would rather be healthy and feel amazing and go to the bathroom often than to not do that and to feel crappy and all of the things that have gone on in my past. I am so glad that that's gone, and I would trade it for going to the bathroom any day. Question number 26. There are no long-term studies for the raw vegan diet being healthy. How do you know you're going to stick to it in the long run or not get sick? Now, I don't know this. No one really does because there aren't any studies, but that does not stop me from continuing on this diet because I feel amazing. Now, I know that's just anecdotal, but I do feel so good on this diet that I just can't justify going back. I can't. I know it triggers my addictions and I don't feel good. I feel all these other emotions that go with it. So I want to be raw, and this is how I want to eat, and this is how I'm doing it for me. If you have issues with the no study thing and you just want to do plant-based, that's totally fine. I don't mind. I mean, it's your body. You do what you want. But for me, I will be doing raw for as long as humanly possible because that is how I feel the best. Question number 27. What about Christmas or holidays or barbecues or all of that? I bring my own food to those events and I bring extra to share with my friends and family. And I normally make it a Christmas theme, so I have reds and greens in there. Or for barbecue, I do traditional things like I'll make a raw vegan patty and make like a hamburger with it, or I'll bring like a raw vegan coleslaw. If it's a birthday party, maybe I'll make some raw cake or bring my favorite spinach dip that's in my meal plan. That one is always a big hit. I'm actually taking it to my dad's picnic for Father's Day. So all of these little things that I like to still bring to these events. I still go to the events and I have a fun time with my friends and family, and that's what it's about. It's not about the food for me anymore. And if I do go to like my grandma's house and it smells like turkey or stuffing on Thanksgiving, that's just how my grandma's house smells on that day. That's basically how the holiday smells to me. So I don't link it with food anymore, but it takes time to disconnect that. So yeah, for Christmas, I take my own stuff and I enjoy it just the same. Number 28, how do I do this when my significant other isn't on board? This one is also a big roadblock to a lot of people who want to be raw and who just feel a little bit distanced from their significant other when they do that. I have a significant other currently who is not raw vegan, but he will eat all the raw foods that I make. So that is awesome. And he eats vegan food when he is here. So it's awesome. I find that, yes, it's difficult because you see them eating stuff. You want them to be healthy because you love them. but it's their path. You can only be an example. If you have to make food for them, make sure that you have your food ready, or you have snacks, because you can snack on that while you're making their food so you're not tempted by it. But yeah, being an example is the number one thing. The more of an example you are, the more likely they are to follow you in that. And they might want to support you. They might feel like they need to get healthier. They might see you improve in your health, and they might want that as well. So yeah, it's a tough one, but you need to focus on yourself. And if this is what makes you feel the best, then you should eat this way. And you should not, eat other foods just because other people say you should. Why would you do something like that to yourself? If you don't feel good eating it, then don't. If you don't feel good eating it ethically, then you shouldn't eat it. Just say no and just stand by your ground and be an example of love. Question 29, isn't this time consuming? Actually, any diet that is homemade is going to be time consuming. So whether you're making a raw vegan lasagna or a meat-based lasagna, you're still going to be taking time to make either or. If you're making something in a crock pot or like a stew that's going to sit all day, to me, it's the same as putting something in the dehydrator and letting it sit all day. There's going to be prep in either way. I would prefer to eat the raw foods, so that's what's going to happen. Now, I love to make the recipes, and I like creating them and doing those on special occasions, and sure, they're gonna take a little bit more time, but for the most part, my salads, again, like I said earlier, take like 5 minutes to make, maybe 8, just washing and chopping really quick, and then 30 seconds to make my salad dressing. So really, it's a lot less time consuming, especially when I'm eating just fruit, because fruit is so easy and so quick, and there's hardly any cleanup. Maybe just rinsing a plate or a knife or something like that. But yeah, bananas don't require anything but throwing the banana peel in the compost. So it's not really that time consuming to me. Rinsing the blender, really, that's all. I prefer it that way because I find that cooked food involves a lot more utensils and stuff. Even if you're just doing cooked plant-based, it's just the cooking creates like all the crusty stuff on pots and pans and it's just too much for me. So I find that this diet for me is way less time consuming because really it's washing, chopping, rinsing. It's really awesome. 2 more questions. Question 30. Aren't you too skinny? I am not too skinny. I am not too skinny. I am actually a perfect weight for my height, and I love it here. I've maintained this weight for about 2 years, give or take, a couple pounds here and there. I went through some severe stress where I really wasn't eating a lot for a couple times in the last year and a bit, where I did lose a little bit of weight just because I was not eating because of stress. Stress will eat your muscle mass and you lose tone. And I did get a little skinny, but I ate more fruit and vegetables, more calories, a little bit more fats to gain a little bit more weight back. But I fluctuated within about 5 pounds, give or take, 5 to 8 pounds maybe. But otherwise, I have maintained the same amount of weight for 2 years. And I am not too skinny. I feel amazing. I don't feel like I'm in my own way. I would love to have more muscle tone, but again, that's exercise, which I don't do a lot of, and I need to do more of. So no, I don't think I'm too skinny. I think I'm just perfect, just the way I am. And last but not least, isn't it about balance and moderation? I don't believe in eating foods that make us feel crappy in moderation. I don't think that we should be hurting ourselves just to enjoy a flavor of something that you can do raw. You can eat fruits and vegetables. If you want like a curry sauce, why not make a raw curry sauce? Why do you have to have something that is like processed, simple carbohydrates like noodles or something like that, doused in fat and oil and salt, when you could have similar flavors eating raw foods that aren't going to trigger more addictions, trigger insulin resistance, or just overall be not good for you. I'm not going to go and have an ice cream on a hot day in moderation. I'm not going to have popcorn on movie night in moderation. I'm not going to have pizza on a Friday night in moderation. I'm not going to drink alcohol with friends on a party night in moderation. I'm not going to do these things because there's always an excuse for moderation. Monday, you could use that excuse because a friend bought you a latte. Tuesday, you could use that excuse because your boss took you out for lunch. Wednesday, you could use that excuse because you worked late and you had to come home and you got takeout. Thursday, you could use that excuse because your kid accomplished something and you wanted to take them out for cookies. Friday night, maybe you're having movie night and you justify something. Saturday is your first day off and it's your cheat day, so you have something. Sunday might be lazy day and you don't feel like making anything, so you have something. Or, you know, and then Monday it's your coworker's birthday and it justifies having cake. There's always going to be a reason. Tuesday might be Thanksgiving, and then, you know, the next week it's your birthday, and then it's a barbecue at a friend's house, and then it's a friend's birthday, and then it's this and that and the other thing, and there's always going to be an excuse. So I believe that balance is loving yourself, is giving yourself those whole foods that make you feel amazing. And we don't need to be using these excuses just to justify pleasing other people, giving ourselves a reward, punishment, culture, tradition, all of those things. We have to let them go and realize that loving ourselves means giving ourselves pure, real, raw foods, healthy, natural, vegan, cooked or not. I prefer raw, but again, you want to be eating those proper foods that are healing for you and not that are taking you back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was super long, but I wanted to get through all of those questions because they are the top questions that I'm always asked. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe to my channel to get notifications for more. You can find me on Facebook, Lissa's Raw Food Romance, on Instagram at Raw Food Romance, and on Snapchat, Lissa Raw Vegan. And until the next video, guys, Fruta.